ready to get started, Ms. Schenk?
I think so. So thank you everyone for joining us. Welcome to our, Gretchen and I, again, we're really bad at changing the date on our slides. I'm sorry. So today clearly is not January 26th. It is actually the second day of February. So sorry, we'll change that. We hope you have enjoyed this beautiful Tuesday. The sun is shining and it is gorgeous outside. And as we were just saying, the groundhog did not see his shadow. So that's a good sign. Spring's around the corner.
Good stuff.
What else can go wrong in a day like today?
Don't
Perfect.
say that. Don't say that. Oh my gosh.
So before we get started, we would like to acknowledge that the land on which we are gathered is part of the traditional territory of the Chippewa, Odawa, Potawatomi, and Delaware nations. Gretchen, tell me about this picture. This is a new one.
Okay, so this one is from our friend's property in St. Clair Township, and it's a place where my husband and my kids and I like to go to just go hang out in the bush for a while. And so, you know, when we do the territory acknowledgement, I always say it's a good time to reflect and think about the things that you are grateful that the land has given you, and the things that you can enjoy with the land and from the land. And also to reflect on whose traditional territory you are on, and just kind of to be grateful for the Chippewa, Odawa, Potawatomi, and Delaware nations for being stewards of the land for so many years, right? So this is one of our favorite places to go. So, yeah.
Looks lovely.
It is.
Okay, so today we are going to shift gears just a little bit. So we are going to have an opportunity for kindergarten registration sharing. I know it is just around the corner on Thursday. But we wanted to give people kind of a platform to share if they came up with anything creative. We are also then going to talk about some provocations in the virtual environment, and we have a few educators who are going to share some of the successes that they have had with different types of provocations, and we're going to kind of look at it through a few different lenses. And then if we have time, we're not going to rush through that. If we have time at the end, we're going to talk a little bit about math and how we can promote that rich math conversation and math talk with our kinders. So that is where we are going today.
Sounds good.
So yeah, it'll be a good one.
Mm-hmm. So would anybody like to share what they have planned for the kindergarten registration coming up on Thursday? We put it out there to Twitter land, and we didn't get much.
It was dead air on Twitter. We tried, but we didn't get a whole lot. Anyone have anything that they were planning on doing? Gretchen, I think if you skip ahead a couple slides, I did have a couple ideas that people were sharing last time. One team had shared that they were going to wear some spirit wear just to kind of get the kids into that mode. Scavenger hunt was another conversation that kind of came up about having the kids, you know, share some things that were their favorite items around their home. And another one was just doing a read aloud. So we just wondered if anyone came up with any other ideas that they are doing for this virtual Kinder Start.
You can put it into the chat if you want to. You don't need to turn the camera either.
It's tough because, sorry, go ahead, Cynthia. Yep.
We're just actually like doing a tour of our room, and we're going to have some like normal provocations that we'd have out in the classroom to kind of just show them, explain kind of what the FDK program is all about, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's great. Mm-hmm. And I see someone in the chat was saying, showing pictures of the classroom, same thing, and then asking the new student to kind of share their favorite toy with us. So again, getting that engagement, which is really difficult when we're online, but just kind of breaking that ice and being able to encourage that conversation is really great. Mm-hmm. Anyone else before we get started?
Yeah. I think that the conversations that I've had with teachers about this, teachers and ECEs, is that it's more about just getting conversation going with the students and less about having an activity plan, really. And it's, you know, because one thing that came up is one person said that they didn't know what they might have at home. They might not want to put their camera on in their house. You know what I mean? They're not set up for this yet. And so they talked about, you know, just talking with the family, talking with the kid, and those questions about, oh, what's your favorite book? Do you have a pet? Tell me about your pet. And just that, getting the student comfortable talking to the teacher. And same thing, pictures of the classroom. So yeah, I think that's mostly what I've been hearing as well.
It is hard when you can't front load families with, you know, have these things, and if we have this stuff ready, we could do this. So I think that's just as nice, and it's going to be just as memorable for those little kinders coming and meeting their teachers, and that kind of is exciting. And seeing the classroom, I think, is probably of interest to them as well. So if you think of anything else, let us know.
Yes.
Alicia, I really like the idea of wearing the spirit wear. I think that's a great suggestion, since it's something that we could really advocate and promote our school, first of all. And because we're going to be in different locations, I know my teaching partner and I are going to be in different locations, but because we'll each be at our own homes when we're doing this, but showing that maybe united front. And also I think our kinders, all the kinders eventually will get a t-shirt from their school. So maybe that would be like a nice kind of hook. So I'm really glad to see that was suggested, because I really think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I love that. The FDK team, one of the FDK teams at Plimpton, Wyoming, was telling me that was kind of in their plan, which is why I put their logo. But just letting the kids know that they're going to be part of this, you know, big family of, for example, like at McGibbon, and they're part of the Grizzly family now, and how exciting that is, it kind of gets them excited. So might be something fun.
I was going to add to that too with the scavenger hunt. If you're concerned about maybe the family not having things, you can go real basic. So find something red, or find something that is a circle, find something that is bigger than your foot. So like because I think the scavenger hunt is a great idea, because it does also get the kids moving while you're doing the time. Because I know for us, we've got 30-minute windows, which seems like an exponential amount of time to keep a 3-year-old engaged. So the scavenger hunt is a great idea.
Yeah. And keeping it simple, that's right. That's smart. And even if they don't have an item, maybe they could say like, oh, I know an apple's red, or, you know, I have a dinner plate that's a circle, or something like that too. Love it. Okay. Let's get moving. Okay, so we have Carrie and Carissa who wanted to share about this, which I thought was super cute, especially with Valentine's Day kind of just around the corner. I always think of my belly before I think of anything else for Valentine's Day. So Carissa or Carrie, if you are out there.
Hi, sorry, my dog was just barking like crazy. Of course, the one time you go to unmute yourself.
That's the way it works.
Yeah, this was just a simple activity we did. We found when we started getting a little bit more complicated provocations, our families were already feeling a bit overwhelmed with online. So we started to slow it down a little bit and just pick something basic as a book that connects with a cookie activity, and then just let the kids do their own creativity. We had a couple of kids that it led into math, because they started counting how many Smarties compared to their marshmallows, or were able to bake and follow some simple ingredients with their mom. Others interacted with nature, as you could see the bottom one, where they were saying how they use kind of food coloring from our science experiment we did earlier, but then they also interacted with some loose parts like rocks and things like that. And then we had quite a few kids that did it with Play-Doh, so they got a little sensory time as well.
For sure. I love that because there are so many entry points. As you said, you have one family or one little girl or boy who had the chance to actually bake cookies or to decorate cookies at home, and everything from going outside to collecting some snow and using those stones and whatever was in the environment. So it goes along with that whole conversation around equity and how important it is to, you know, not limit what they can use, but instead kind of expand that whole creative piece.
And I love the taking the snow, right? Like, I don't know if they brought it into the house or if they just played outside and did that, right? Like, that's awesome to encourage that as well. So yeah, I think
We also had a lot of kids that just drew it on a piece of paper with just markers too. And I think we kind of got a little bit engaged in this activity a little bit more, forgot to take some more pictures, but we had some that was just as easy as just sitting there with their piece of paper and talking about, you know, what shape would your cookie be? What would you want to add to your cookie? What ingredients? And so it was just as simple as a piece of paper and a pencil too, which made sure that everybody was able to engage in this activity if they wanted to hop in on it. Sometimes we just have kids that want to watch and look too. So, and there are observers and they, you know, we ask them the question, did you notice what so-and-so was doing with their cookie or whatever? So it made sure that everybody was able to engage in the activity with us.
Yeah, we did this one as a Google Meet. That's why we didn't have as many pictures, because it wasn't an activity that they sent us after. So we mainly did it all together where they could show their diagram first and kind of plan it out, and then they got to roll with it after how they wanted to.
And that whole literacy piece, even, you know, that you had them draw a diagram prior to and, you know, plan it out before you actually do it. There's a literacy component to that as well, which is always nice to add in. And I also love what you said, Carissa, about sometimes these simple opportunities and the simple provocations are the ones that families are appreciating, especially now, because, you know, it is a lot. And the more extravagant we kind of make them, sometimes the more difficult it is for families to engage with them. So simple is key, especially right now. So I think that's a really valid point that you hit on.
Yeah, because we, you know, we have a lot of families that don't have those materials, right? And we don't want to set them up for failure and add more stress to their house. So I did my cookie out of a piece of paper and a pencil so that they could see that, you know what, teachers are doing it this way too. So we just all work together with it.
I love that. Carissa sent us the cutest little sound bites. I don't know, Gretchen, if we can get them to play or not.
What kind of cookie did you make?
I made a chocolate chip cookie.
What'd you make it out of?
Play-Doh?
Pink Play-Doh.
Pink Play-Doh.
And what'd you put on it?
Chocolate chip.
Yellow chocolate chips?
Yeah.
And what else? Letters. And did you end up putting the sprinkles on and the raisins? Yeah. All right.
Well, I put one raisin.
One raisin.
One.
Awesome. That's so cute.
And I love the parent prompting, like way to get the parents involved in that too, which is so nice.
Okay. I'm going to go to the next slide now. Okay. All right. So we have Becca Gardiner with us here. Oh, where's the picture? See, my computer's going a little slow today, and I don't know why this is happening here. Oh, there we go. Okay. We had to dramatically have the picture come in. Becca, would you like to speak about this and tell us about this provocation that you have here?
So this one was just part of a language meeting that we were doing. And we've really noticed that anytime you change anything, we're always sitting in the same screen and they're so used to seeing the same screen. So anytime you change anything, they're immediately interested in what is going on. And so we've started to do things like just be really silly. So this one was specific to letter S. We were talking about letter S. And so my teaching partner and myself just started talking to one another about all kinds of things and just over enunciating our letter S's. And the kids were so interested in what was going on, and they were all putting up their hands. I see a soup, and I see a skate, and I see a, and then S was just in our conversation all day long. So then they would bring things all day long to tell us about the S's that they found in their environments at home. They would draw us pictures. I drew this picture about this S, or I built this thing and it starts with S, and it just expanded it. So we found that with all kinds of different things, using your environment is so important in this, like in this platform, because even today we had another thing like that sort of happen. We had another child come, and she had built this beautiful, it had a piece of cardboard on the top and fishing string, and she had made coffee filters and sprayed them, and you know, we've all done that craft before, but the way that she was holding it, the sun was coming through the window, and you could see the sun coming through all the coffee filters. And now we're busy tomorrow making all different kinds of sun catchers, right? Like, so using their leads as provocations. So that's what we've really been working on, is trying to pay attention to what's happening in our environment and asking questions about what we can see just right there in front of us in that moment.
That's awesome. And I love how you said it, like how you're using their interests in the work that they're doing as your provocations as well. And for the other kids, right? Like how else can we make some catches? What else can we use to look at the way the sun makes shadows, right? Like just lots of different ways to look at that. I think that's awesome. And thinking about your environment too, because I forget if we've talked about this already, but you know, in the classroom, it's like that environment that you have there is like the third teacher, right? And so it's like, how can we use that in our homes while we're doing this virtually? So I think that that's really cool.
It's been a big learning curve, because typically you can manipulate your environment, but we can't manipulate their environment. And so being able to really like pay attention to all those little things that are happening. We've had a really huge run with fairies. We have a little girl that's super, super interested in fairies, and she draws fairies and she hangs them up everywhere. And her friends see that she's interested in fairies, so they draw fairies that are like the things that they're interested in. Like we have another little one that loves cats, so she makes cat fairies now. And so we all draw fairies, just running with what they're interested in, right?
Yep. Awesome. Thank you.
Sure. And I love the, so the whole piece about environment too, and just like being okay to get goofy and be silly, or, you know, log on from your toy room if your kids have a mess, or, you know, sitting on your floor in your kitchen, for example, or, you know, bringing out the pots and pans to do some music. So just really being able to kind of just embrace the craziness of kindergarten and how amazing and fun it can be to begin with. So, and parents appreciate it too. I think parents have a huge appreciation for kindergarten educators, especially right now, just because they see how engaged you can keep the kids and how you have such a spunk about you all of the time. So doing things like this, I actually feel like, Becca, I was in your class observing during this one. And when you and your partner, Ashley, had were all dressing up. And to me, I was like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. Because I always think about like, oh, you know, here's a pen. What letter does pen start with? What sound do you hear? P, p, p. But I never would have thought to, you know, actually modify yourself and bring in all of those things to kind of create engagement. So I think that this is really clever.
Thank you.
So, sorry, Diana just had a question before we moved on quickly. So Carissa and Carrie, did you draw the picture plan one day and make the cookie another, or read the book, make a plan, carry it out all in one meet? So just wondering about the pacing of that activity.
Carissa, are you there?
Yep, sorry. We go ahead. Do you want to roll with
No,
it?
you go. You give her.
Okay. We did a Google Meet where we did our plan together, and we had the story read, and then we had kids have a chance of starting it if they wanted to, or they could get off, and then they could take their time with it and then send it to us in an assignment. So we would normally do our 12 o'clock meet, and then 1 o'clock would be when we'd send out the activity if they wanted to do their Maker Monday a little bit later and do some STEM, try a little bit harder.
Diana, often we will do that with our kids because our afternoon meet isn't as successful as our morning meet. So if we do whatever we do in our morning or our 12 o'clock meet, often we will use as sometimes our activity for our next assignment, just so that if we only have 4 or 5 kids on in the afternoon, then the other 15 kids have the opportunity to like grab a hold of it if parents are working or they just weren't able to get on it so that we get more input from them that way.
Awesome. And since you guys are unmuted, do you want to tell us a little bit? We were talking about music and art, and Carissa was sharing a provocation that had to do with music.
Again, we tried to do it simple. So I just told the kids to, if they had a piece of paper, to put it in 4. And then I would play a song, and then the length of that song, they were able to use different drawing materials, and they could either draw how the song made them feel or what it made them think about. And we noticed we got a lot of conversation from the kids that was a little more than some of the other things we thought were more exciting that they'd be into. But the kids were really in tune with the music. And then after the song was done, we'd be like, what instruments did you guys hear? And then they were able to share. And some kids were coming up with, because we do zones of regulation, like they were talking about the colors. Some of the kids, when it was like a rock song, they were like, oh, it made me feel red and a little bit. Or they would say like green if they felt really calm. So it was kind of neat to see that as well, how they're connecting their feelings to it too.
And so you played those songs out loud during your meet, and the kids in time created whatever it made them kind of think about. And then you talked about it immediately following?
Yes. So we'd kind of, after each song, we'd stop it, and then we'd be like, who would like to share? And not every kid wanted to share each square. And we know when we mute and unmute our kids, we kind of lose them a little bit. So we'd let a couple of kids share, and then we'd be like, okay, on to the next one. And then they'd listen to the song. And it was even cute because we had like a couple of kids that were observers, and they were like, you could watch them in their screen, like really thinking, and then you could get them, seeing them working hard and doing their drawing, and just even all the different things that people thought of. I think the kids were very intrigued at how different people observed the music.
And it was neat to see how many kids kind of felt the same way when they heard the music. Like we had one where I felt like I was dancing like at a ball. And I think 3 of the kids also had a picture of them dancing and as a princess. So it was just neat to see their connections on how a lot of them would feel the same way when it came to different types of music.
And it's so interesting when you actually have students pay attention to what they're listening to. Like obviously there's, the radio on, or when they're driving or something and they hear the sounds, but when you actually have them sit down and think about how it makes them feel, I'm sure that was a very interesting concept for many of them.
Mm-hmm. We put on one song that was like from a powwow, and then even one of our kids right away was like, I can hear Ojibwe, and he was like excited about it to share too. So we were like, oh, that's good that he got that connection as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that, my message is always about representation, right? And so I think that that's a really, really good way to authentically include First Nations music in your classroom as well. Like just not, okay, guys, today we're going to listen to First Nations music. It's like, okay, we're listening to all these different kinds of music, and one of them is powwow music, right? So I think that that's a really awesome way to include that as well. And also thanks for having me to your class as well to talk about it too. So
Yeah, the kids love that.
Sorry, we had an emergency, something exciting where I had to stop what I was doing to pay attention for a minute. And actually, to go along with this, so Sancia had shared with us another activity that was similar, but a little bit different. I don't know, Sancia, if you wanted to share about this one.
It was pretty much like very same idea. So I introduced the concept of emotions, talked about them in the video, and then asked them to create a piece of art listening to music as well, and notice their feelings and the feelings that the music brought up in them. It was interesting because a lot of them actually, like, I was waiting to see like pieces of work on paper and that, but they just did it right on Seesaw. And like, so I would just get like these big scribbles and some of them would do like multiples. So you'd get like 10, and then some of that, like, I find a lot of my provocations, especially lately, they'll just do like a drawing on Seesaw rather than actually like creating. So I don't know if just like it's a lack of supplies at home or whatnot, or if they just like enjoy doing it on Seesaw more. I'm not sure. But yeah. So yeah, the video, I don't know if you wanted to play the video or.
I forget, Alicia, do we have the video here?
So I did just put the link to the video in the chat for people if they wanted to. And what I like about this one in particular is it gives them the opportunity to kind of do it on their own and choose the music that they want as well. So it's very similar, but they can kind of do it in the privacy of their, own space where they're comfortable. They can choose the music that they would like to listen to. So it just kind of adds a different element, but it's the same concept. So it's about your emotions. It's about how it makes you feel. It's being able to kind of channel that inner sense in just a bit of a different way. And I think you're right with the Seesaw activity and how a lot of students are going to the drawing right on Seesaw. Even my own kiddos, even though we do have materials, they seem to really be liking the use of Seesaw when they're doing their work. So maybe it's the easy nature of Seesaw, or maybe it is just something that they're enjoying.
Right.
Something different, right? So like than what they're used to in the classroom or even just at home usually. So being able to use that to draw digitally is pretty cool, really, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, or sometimes I wonder too, like if they don't have parents there to help them, gather the materials and do it. I think that's what I'm seeing a lot in my provocations is maybe they don't have the help that they need to collect the materials and figure out the technology to put that into Seesaw.
Absolutely. Okay.
Sancia?
So that is in the chat. Sancia, thank you so much for sharing that. I have a bunch of links to share with you in the chat today. So if you click on them and open them just in another tab, and you can check them out later, but I will be shelling some more out. So keep your eyes peeled for them.
Yeah. So here again, we have a provocation from a book, not a box book. So I think this was Becca again, correct? Yeah. So Becca, would you like to tell us about this?
Yeah, this was a really fun one. I love that book. It's one of my favorites. And so if you haven't read it, I'm sure most of you have read it, but it's just this little bunny. The book looks like a cardboard box. And everybody keeps saying, what are you doing with that box? And he's telling them it's not a box, it's a rocket ship or it's a mountain. And so we read that with our group and then challenged them to find a box, any box or something box shaped, and turn it into something else. See what you can make from a box. And They were so creative. Again, it was another one of those ones where it was in a live Google Meet. So you get fewer pictures that way. But they were coming and bringing all their boxes that were so many different things. They talked about whether they could fit in their boxes. The little guy on the right there, he told us his box was a car, and we were like, that looks like a pretty small car. And he's like, no, watch, I can fit inside of it, you know. And so they had so much fun. And the ones that couldn't fit themselves inside of their boxes found all sorts of other things to fit inside of their boxes. And they always blow my mind with the creative ideas that they come up with. Not a box is always a fun one. We did another one time, and it was 10 apples up on top. And it was a STEM challenge about building something as tall as you can out of whatever you can find to build with. And so we had ones that were building yogurt container, empty yogurt container things almost to their ceilings, and using chairs to stack them way up higher and higher. The big Rubbermaid totes they could find in their basements. You know, they wanted to build the biggest things they could. Or students building with the tiniest things with as many as they could. It was, that was another really good one. But just choosing those ones that you know they're gonna go, hey, I can go and do that too. So Not a Box was a really fun one.
I like this too. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Gretchen. One thing I noticed about this when I was looking at the pictures earlier is you can see their own little personalities, like the baby ball pit. Obviously that student loves dollies. And then that one kind of in the middle, it's not a box, it's a horse stable. Like what? I don't think I ever
She lives on a farm and she goes and feeds her neighbor's cows every day. Like, yeah, it's so super great.
Cool. I love that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. We get to see what's important to them this way, right? We get to see, you know, about what their interests are, you know, a horse stable. That's exactly what I thought too. I wonder if this little one has horses at home, you know, or, you know, if they go somewhere to ride horses. So yeah, I thought I think it's really cool to see that. So thanks again. Thank you again, Becca. Shadow.
I'm really excited to hear about this one. So obviously today was Groundhog's Day, and Carissa and Carrie just did this one.
Are you tired of hearing from us?
No, never.
Oh God, I'm like, oh, it's us again.
Tell us about this. I'm super intrigued by this one.
Chris, are you going or me?
Go ahead.
All right. Well, we had a little friend share something earlier, like about a month ago, how much he loves dinosaurs. And we didn't really know that about this little gaffer. So his mom had sent us, this would be a really cool idea for you guys to maybe explore on one of your meets. And we're like, yes, we'll hold on to that and we'll do that for sure. And then it just so happened that it was Groundhog Day today and shadows. So we thought this is a great opportunity to talk to them about shadows and see what they knew and where they wanted to go with it. So their job was this afternoon, we listened to a little groundhog story about what happens if the groundhog sees a shadow, blah, blah, blah. And we asked them to bring like a piece of paper, something that they would like to maybe try and find their shadow, and a flashlight if need be, because we realized that, you know, some of our friends don't live in a house. Some of our friends live in an apartment building and the light, blah, blah, blah. So we just explored it with them. We talked about where was the best place to put your item. Could we find some sunlight in our house? Did it work? We had one little gaffer say that his mom and him used his mom's telephone flashlight in order to help him find his shadow. And yeah, we just kind of explored it with them. We took their lead and we had a lot of fun with it on how we were going to find a way to make some shadows. You want to add, Chris?
Oh, I was just going to say, because I see my purple arrow and I'm like the children where it doesn't even look like an arrow, but the corner, if anyone's wondering what that blob is, there's a little girl we have that's like super shy and she just kind of gives us thumbs up or thumbs down. You probably all have those kids that you see a different side of them through Google Meets compared to in the classroom. But she was looking back because she was looking for the shadows in her daycare. So there was a shadow right in that back corner that she was like displaying right there. So I put the little arrow there because that was her way of engaging. She didn't grab a toy from the daycare, but she was analyzing and finding shadows in her environment too, which we thought that was a neat process too as well.
I have to ask, is that bottom right corner, did somebody send in that picture too of the groundhog? Did they take that picture?
Yeah, that would be very entertaining. I would love to interact with the groundhog, but no, we showed that to the kids, and then obviously they love Curious George. So we also, that Curious George is from our clip that we showed of the groundhog.
Yeah, cool. I thought maybe the one in the bottom right, maybe somebody had a love of taxidermy or something.
And always great to be able to extend those activities. So, you know, if this shadow activity is something that you started with, and maybe the next day you could, you know, measure your own shadow and what could you use to measure it, what's taller, what's shorter, and comparing them, creating your own shadow using different materials, and how does the shadow change depending on what your materials are. And then of course those noticing and wonderings, which are so important.
Yeah,
for the
It's
little
something
ones.
that was kind of easy to connect back to school too. And I find that when we connect some of our conversations back to school, you kind of see their spirits lift up a little bit, because often at school we would like try and jump on each other's shadow. It's a game that I would often play with them outside. So I said to them, remember when we're outside and we're playing, you know, when we have to stand in order to get our shadow. And so it was a nice connection to something that, you know, we were doing together back in the day when we were at school.
Yeah, that is nice. And this,
The kids like being experts, right? Like they like being the little experts at things. So we have like the one little boy kind of introduced this to us. So like that made him feel like an expert. And then we have tomorrow, there's a little girl that took a volcano experiment a couple of weeks ago, and she tried it with snow, and now she wants to be this leader of a snow experiment tomorrow. So I think it kind of makes the kids feel they can kind of lead it a little bit too, and it makes them a little bit more excited about it.
That's awesome. And you could connect it to that art project that Becca was earlier talking about with the sun catchers and the coffee filters and everything. The way that the sunlight goes through those, and how does the shadow look different that way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
And this brings us to this super cool video you guys are going to be so intrigued by from our dear friend Gretchen.
Let's see. We'll see. Okay. So we wanted to talk about provocations through video. So creating provocations, asking the question, showing something that we might not be able to show live, right? So this is one that I created.
I had been noticing that some of my plants look different at different times of the day, especially this purple one here. This plant is called an Oxalis triangularis. I set my camera up to record my plants for a whole day. My phone sped up the recording so we could see what happened. Here is what I saw. What do you notice? What do you wonder?
So even just asking those questions, right? What do you notice and what do you wonder? Why do you think this happens, right? And these are just some things that you could ask. Can you move your body like that Oxalis triangularis plant? What would happen if it was a cloudy day? What do plants do outside? Why does that plant move that way, right? So just setting up those opportunities to be able to share these videos, you know, that you are able to create. I just made it in in Apple Clips, and I just set my phone up for 24 hours to record the plant on the time lapse. So just easy things that you can do to spark that inquiry and interest with your students.
And that's a nice connection to shadows and like when the sunlight comes out and what the difference was with the plant and how it responded when there was no sunlight. So just again, another kind of natural connection to the world that we live in and how plants respond in ways that, you know, other objects might in the world as well.
And with kids being at home too, a lot of people have plants at home that, you know, that would start conversation about plants that kids might have in their house. What plants do you have out in your yard? Even what's happening to the plants right now in the winter time. So, yeah. Oops.
Or why do my plants always die in my house?
Are you overwatering them?
I don't know. Maybe I'm not watering them enough. I'm not sure. I'm gonna send them to Gretchen's house.
Okay, back on track here. So this one is from Sansia. Okay, so she has made a lot of videos for provocations. And so Alicia is going to share some in the chat, correct? Okay, and so we have, I just can't see the chat here just because I have the slides up. So this is one that Sansia created. Do you want to talk about it first, Sansia, or do you want us to play it?
You can go ahead and play it if it's available.
The Dino Egg Challenge. Over the years, paleontologists have been finding fossilized dinosaur eggs around the world. Paleontologists believe that these eggs came in many different colors, different patterns, and lots of different sizes. Your challenge is to find items and materials from around your house to create your very own dinosaur eggs. Be creative, explore, and most importantly, have fun. Be sure to share your creations with us on Seesaw.
That's awesome. So when you shared that provocation with your students, what came after? What kind of conversations came after, or what did you find that they did?
So I always struggle when I post these provocations because I like to give them examples and ideas, but then at the same time, I find that they all like copy what I've showed them. So, and then again, I was a little bit like disappointed in a sense because the majority of them just went onto the template that I provided and drew an egg and would like make Easter egg type things. So it wasn't exactly as engaging as I thought it would be. So I think that like next time I would say, you know, bring your egg to our meet. I didn't do that. We don't have a ton of students coming to our meets either. So I don't know. I just didn't think of it in that sense. Now I would change it and ask them to bring it. But a lot of them did do like the water balloon eggs. They really liked that one. They thought that was neat. And the other one, what was it? I think that one of them had tried to do it looked like a paper mache egg. But I think instead they had just kind of used tape and decorated it. And I usually put these videos like on a choice board. That's what I've been trying to do as like a STEM activity to go along with like a math and a literacy, just to give them something different so that they're not always just, you know, doing literacy and math, but also trying to make it fun for them.
I think you could even like share the video with them and maybe brainstorm some ways that they could make it too, right? And even if they have like ideas that we think are, you know, we can't do that, right? Like maybe somebody's gonna say cement or something like that, or things that you could make them out of, right? Like even coming up with that list together and saying, okay, so now we made this list, now go make your dinosaur egg, right? Or post that list even to Seesaw with the challenge that you have there. Just for next time, just brainstorming here. So,
yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, those are great ideas. Oh shoot, I lost it. I was going to say something else, but I lost it.
That's okay.
So, I think oftentimes too, when we think about provocations, we think about kind of this like STEM like opportunities and the opportunities for the kids to come and kind of create and to build. So I think however we frame our provocation too is going to lend itself to different things, which was why we wanted to share kind of some different ways, and also some ways that are super simple. Some things may be a flop, some things might work really well, but just, different opportunities and different provocations for our students. And they may not always be, a roaring success, but for some kids, different provocations are going to spark different things as well. So that is always
yeah. And that's what I've noticed, like some of my provocations, like I get really, not the greatest feedback, but then somebody else will ask if they can share it and they say, oh my God, it was amazing. And they get all these amazing results. So just different demographics, I think, and, families that you're dealing with or whatnot. I don't know what it is, but so.
For sure. And on the next slide here, we have a whole bunch of different ones, and one that we wanted to show, I think, right, Gretchen?
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay.
Positional words. Positional words are words that tell us where something or someone is. For example, this cat is in the box, or the dog is on the skateboard. This raccoon is between the trees. The dog is under the fence. And this horse is behind the tree. Your challenge this week is to take a favorite toy or stuffed animal on an adventure with you. Take a picture of your item in different positions, such as this monkey in the bucket or this car on top of the cup. When you finished your adventure, don't forget to post your pictures to Seesaw and tell us about all the fun places you and your toy or stuffed animal went. Can't wait to see your adventures.
I love that one. I think that one's so great. And all the pictures that you included to show all those positional words, that was so awesome. They're so funny. And I think having, take your stuffy or take your toy, that makes it so personal and relevant to them. And it's probably, just I could just see kids just loving to do that, right? Like make a video of their stuffies that they're taking places, right? So I think that was so great.
Yeah, and that is one of the provocations that I kind of got more feedback from. I had actually made this one last time we were on after March break or whatnot on leave, and I got a lot of responses and they really enjoyed it. And I just posted again today. We're doing positional words again now. So I just posted it today. And I've already received some good feedback from the kids, and I think it gets them to like out, if they want to go out in the neighborhood or whatever, just to do something besides be inside the house. So
yeah, I think
and again, it connects to that whole idea of like bringing their home environment. I believe it was last week we talked with Diana and Allison and Molly and Tressa, who were telling us about, using stuffies for engagement. And this is another perfect opportunity that they can like hang out with their stuffy friends at home and they can be in their own environment. So again, it just kind of making them feel at ease and comfort with, some of the chaos that's happening here. Carissa was asking Santia about the program, and I actually mentioned this to Gretchen today when we were meeting, because I remember you using this program last year. Do you want to tell us what you created that in?
I usually start out making them in clips because I just find that it's a very simple program to run. But then if I want to add details like the little animated arrows or other things, I'll use a program called InShot, and I just use the free version. And then like I kind of app smash them and upload it that way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I've never heard of use that one either. I always just use clips, but that InShot looks really great too.
Yeah, I just like the InShot because it just has those few little details. Like if you, like I said, need to point to something or, are trying to highlight something or make something a little bit more fun for the kids, they have the animated emojis and stuff. So
if people here are used to using clips, it does have those in clips. Sometimes you need to search for them, like it'll circle things, and there's arrows that you can add to, and captions as well, or words. But if you're used to that, use that, or if you're used to whatever works for you, use it.
I think this was more like when I was more novice and first starting out, and I didn't realize that clips had all those features as well. They weren't as easily accessible, right?
Yeah.
InShot just made it a little bit easier to do.
Yeah, and that's it. Keep it easy for you, right? It's awesome. Thank you. So yeah.
So I'm just looking at the time, Gretchen, and I'm wondering, I really want to see your next provocation.
Okay. And so we're sharing these with you too, so you can use Stancia's provocations, and the videos that I'm sharing, you can use those in your class too. So yeah, we'll keep going. Do you want to talk about this one, Alicia? Or do you want to? Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is another one that I made. So I have beehives in my yard, and just another thing you can share with your students. I think I was talking to, it was Stancia, because I saw the seesaw lesson about bees, and I said, oh, I keep bees. And if you want me to come talk about bees and teach Ojibwe words about bees, I'll come to your class and do that, right? So when we were talking about these provocations, Alicia said, do you have anything about your bees that you could talk about? So I made this little quick one.
Okay.
On January 9th, it was a very beautiful and really warm day. It was too warm for skating outside. I went to go take a look at the beehives, and I noticed that our bees were flying around. They were zipping in and out of the hive all afternoon. Later in January, it got cold again, and I went to go take a look at the hives. I didn't see a single bee. Today, on February 1st, it is cold and snowy, so I went to look at the hive again. I didn't see a single bee. I started to wonder, what are they doing in there? What do other insects do in the winter time? What do you wonder?
Okay, so something as simple as that, right? What do you notice? What do you wonder? What do other animals do in the winter? Because we know that there's some that hibernate in the winter. We know that the groundhog pops his head out of the ground to see what's going to happen with winter, right? Use your toys or loose parts to show what you think the bees are doing in the hive in the winter, because I could tell you they're not really sleeping in there. Okay, what you can do, a little fact, you can put your ear up to the beehive and you can hear them buzzing around in there, just so you know. So yeah.
Love that connection to like hibernating, and how different animals act in different ways in the winter time, and that can be a great conversation starter to have as well with your class.
Yeah. So yeah, use that provocation video for your class if you want to, if you're talking about hibernation. So yeah.
Perfect. So we have tons more to share, but we also know that it is beautiful out.
January 9th, it was a very...
And everybody needs to get outside and enjoy the sunshine.
Yes.
So again, thank you so much to everyone who shared today. Thank you for all of your great ideas. Thank you for always being willing to come on and share what's working and your challenges, and being honest with everyone. We hope that you guys are getting close with your communication of learning, and that you're finally seeing a light at the end of the crazy tunnel. And yeah, I'm going to say we may not see you next Tuesday, but we don't know. So if we don't, we'll connect, I'm sure, right, Gretchen, maybe in February, possibly?
Yeah, I think that'd be good. I love meeting with this group. I just want to remind everybody too that tomorrow Lisa Hill is doing the moccasin flow exercising for FDK, I believe at 9:30. If you haven't signed up, or if you need the link, send me an email and I will make sure that you get it, okay? Or search through your emails. It might just be easier for you to email me if you need to, though. That's no problem at all. I'll send you the link for sure.
Yeah. And good luck with Kinder Start and Kinder registration. And yes, we can't wait to hear about how things are going. Thanks again, everyone.
Yep.
Have a wonderful Tuesday.
We'll see you later.
Thanks so